For this one is pretty simple. What I noticed is a lot of you overcomplicated the range when you do your last summative. The range is really, we talked about this earlier, is a difference between maximum and minimum. Okay, so whenever you have the values, you just take the highest values minus the lowest values from that data. So that's the range. Take the highest values minus the lowest. So they either give you a table, a list of values. They may give you stamped and leaf plot. They can give you a dot plot. They can give you frequency table. Doesn't matter. We look at the values. We take the highest minus the lowest. All right. So let's look at this. So for example, this data is the two corporation. They hire about 10 graduates. The starting salary for each graduate is shown. So these are the 10 people that they're hiring. Okay, this one is in thousands of dollars. So this person, the first one is about $41,000. The second one is $38,000. So you want to pay attention to the units that are given to you. Okay, so to find the range, I will take the highest values minus the lowest. So the range is maximum value, take away the minimum, which is the lowest. So we look over here, look at this table, all right? The highest values would be 47, but not just 47, it's 47,000. And the lowest one is in the 38,000. Okay. So you look at this, 47,000 minus 37, thank you. Oh, I missed that. So it's 37, you're right. So this is 37,000. Okay. So 47, take away 37, that would give you 10,000. That is the range. Okay, so the range in here is telling you that when you get hired, people are not going to hire you with the same salary. The same thing that when I get hired for Northtown, with the people with the same times, I may get a different salary. So they base on your experience. If you just freshly graduate from college, they will look at your GPA, they look at your score, and like, this person seems to worth about this much. So you may hit the very high end or the very low end if that is the case. So again, in this case, we're going to talk about the range that they have from the lowest to the highest. Where are you compared to that? So the range is pretty simple, highest minus the lowest. So the difference between this is $10,000. Question for the range. Okay, so now is your turn to do this one. This is the second company. This is still the same unit as 1,000, but the salary for the graduate is different for this company. Okay, so go ahead and answer this question. Okay, so that is good. Let's see. We look for the maximum and we look for the minimum. Okay, I see that. So that's part A. Identify the maximum and the minimum. So that's good. So this is part A. And then we find the range by subtract them. So that's good. Great. Awesome. Okay. I know that some of you use 28 and 50, 23 and 58 as your max and min. When you do this, because this is in thousands of dollars, so make sure that you understand it's $58,000 and $23,000, not just 58 and 23. Okay, that is good. That is good. Okay. So we identify the highest, which is 58,000 is the max. Okay. 23,000 is the minimum. And we're going to find the range. We take 58, whoops. We take 58,000 minus 23,000, and that gives you 35,000. Okay, that's good. So I see that is good. That's what most of you, whoever started it, that is correct. So to find the, if you find the range, that's really simple. Maximum minus the minimum. So I'm going to move on from this one. If you have question, let me know. Thank you for the 13 people responding. If the one who did not respond, let me know. If you have question or you work on a piece of paper, that is fine. We'll check in. Okay, so the next one is, that's the last one, is the range. So you want to jot it down somewhere. The same thing is sometimes when you take the summative. Oh, how you get the maximum and the minimum? The maximum is the highest values in the table. The minimum is the lowest values. So the first one we talk about the range. So if you should have that on paper somewhere, you can take a picture. You can go back. So here's something I want to tell you is that when you take the summative, you can go back and look at your notes from your computer, right? But it's easier if you have your own notes, and then you can take a look at the example, which is right there. It's easier for you instead of searching that from the computer. So if you have it ready, then that will be much better for you. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is deviation. The word is deviation. Okay, so deviation, what it means is that it's going to compare, it said the entry X and the population of the data set is the difference between the entry and the mean of the data set. So pretty much for this one is, the deviation is to say, where are you compared with the average, with the mean. Think about the SAT. Sometimes we're like, okay, the average for NTA, the SAT, the composite is 20, right? That's the average. So think about this. Let's talk about SAT. We talk about SAT, average. So let's say the average is 20. And then you took the test and your composite is 18. We want to know where you are compared, that's a deviation, by taking your score, which is 18, take away the average, the mean. That's tell you that you are 2 variation below the mean. You 2 point below the mean. That you are below the average. Or for those who did much better, they got 25, then that is, if that is your score is 25, we take 25, take away 20, that's what gives you the deviation. Where are you compared with the average? So that would be 5 points above the average. So it's important for us to know the deviation. The same thing with company and school. Look at your score and say, do I want this student? Do I want to hire this candidate? Will they meet the requirement for my company, for my school? If I'm taking this kid, can he pass all of his classes? Can she pass all the classes required for the major? So the average is really important in statistics because that's the norm. And when we talk about people look at you like a statistic, this is what it means. They look at the score. They don't know who you are. They look at the score and say, what do I know about this person? Not much, but I know this is a score. This is his or her ability, right? So another thing that we'll look at is also your GPA, right? Or even though you apply for jobs, you want to show off your skills as much as possible because they don't know that, and you want to list them out instead of just saying that I'm working for this company and working for this store for 3 years. Okay, so those are the things. So the deviation is the difference between where you are and the average. Okay, so so it sounds complicated. The word is deviation. It sounds a little bit complicated, but it's really is the difference of your place compared to the mean. Okay, so where you are compared with the mean. So look over here. We have this table. So they tell you find the deviation for each starting salary. So these are the 10 people that they hired. And they want to find the deviation. So before you can find the deviation, for some of you forgot, this mu, the symbol right here is this symbol. My pen is not working again. Come on. So this notation look like a U. This is represent the mean. Okay. The X is your score, your values. Whatever the values they use. It can be salary, it can be test score, it can be number of hours. Doesn't matter. But this notation right here, this is the mean, the mu. Okay. So if they ask you to find the deviation, you need to know two things. The mean and the actual score. So the actual score, the actual value is given, so we need to find the mean. How we find the mean? We add all of them up together and divide by how many that we have. So we have 41, 38, 39. So we're going to add them up. Okay. So if I add them up, if I have my calculator, make sure that you have calculator. If you do have graphing calculator, make sure that you charge your graphing calculator and get ready to put it on use for this week. And after winter break, we come back, we're going to use it. So 41. So to find the mean. So to find the mean, we add the total. Okay. So 41 plus 38 plus 39 plus 45 plus 47 plus 41 plus 44, 41 again, 37 and 42. Okay. So the total give me 415, but to find the average, I'm going to divide by the 10 people because there's 10 entry. So my mean is 41.5. Okay. Question for me so far before I move on to the next one. All right. So if we find the mean, now what they want you to find is the deviation for each starting salary. So what that means is that I'm going to take each values from here to find the deviation. I'm going to erase this one because I need that space. So for the first graduate to find the deviation, all I need to do is just take 41, take away the mean, which is 41.5. So that would be negative 0.5. Or the difference is about less than $500. To find the next one, I'm going to take 38, take away 41.5. That will get me a new values. Okay, so 38 minus 41.5. And then you can do the same for all of them. So that's how you find deviation. Before you find the deviation, you need to find the average or the mean. Once you have the mean, you take the actual score for each of them and minus the mean. Questions? So this one is the deviation, to say where you are, the difference between where you are and the average. So this say in this person, when they get hired, he or she, we don't know, earn about $500 less than the average for that group. And then for this person, the less than is about 3,500. So this person is the actual high end salary is much lower. Okay, and then we can do the next person. You doing okay? Move on. No questions. So two things: range, deviation. So to find a deviation, I'm going to clear this. Hold on. Okay. So the deviation, the first step you need to do is you're going to need to find the mean, which is the average. Okay. So step number one, to find the mean, we add all of these values from the data. I'm taking 41, 38, 39, 45, and add all of them together. The total that I got for this one is 415. To find the mean or the average, I'm divided by how many items that I have. So in this case, I have 10. So I'm going to divide by 10. So that's how I got the average. Which is 41.5. So I got the average. To find the deviation, what I would do, they tell you to find a deviation for each salary. I have not complete for all of them. I just do the first two. So to find for the first one, I'm taking this 41 minus the mean that I just solved for right here, which is 41.5. So this get negative 0.5. This is about $500 less than the average. So what it's saying in this person earning is about $500 less than the average for this group. I can do the same thing for the next person. I'm taking 38 from here. Again, I have the same average. The average did not change. So I'm going to minus the average, which is 41.5. That give me negative 3.5. So that's about $3,500 less than the average. Then I can do for the next one, I'm going to take 39 minus 41.5. I can do the next one, which is 45 minus 41.5. So that's how I find the standard deviation. So step number one, find the mean. Step number two, take each values and minus the mean. That will give you the deviation. So these values right here, this is the deviation. Okay. Please ask question. You did not. You can do from the lowest to the highest, or it doesn't matter. I start from 41 because that's the first number in the table. Then I start to 38, 39. Then you can just go through the table. So you don't have to start from the lowest one. You don't have to go in the order. As long as you do all of them, then you're fine. Okay, so for this question, it's asking for all of them, so you should subtract all of them. Okay. All right. If you need to take a picture, do so. Take a screenshot, take a picture, whatever. Do that before I move on to the next one. All right. The next one is, this one is a little bit harder. Not harder, but it involves more steps. And that is always something, especially now that we're not doing this in person. It's really hard for me to look at your work and say, you missed this. So I really, really need you to work with me by on a piece of paper if you have to or something. I need you to jot it down. You need to have this because I'm not going to ask you to memorize this formula, but I want you to know what each symbol represents. I will not tell you what it means on the test. Not that I'm being mean to you, but you should be able to read notation and statistic. It's saying the same thing. We say mean, we say average all the time. But in statistic, we're not going to write that out. We're going to use simple. Okay? So let's go back and review the notation. So I'm going to highlight this one right here in yellow. Okay? I'm going to zoom in. This look like a U. This represents the mean. I also have this, the sigma, look like a O with a little thing on the top. This is represent, so right here, this one, or the symbol sigma, is represent the population variance. Okay, so this is a population standard deviation. So this is population standard deviation. Ugh. Okay, let me rewrite this. Okay, this one, you know what? Instead of me write this, it's right here. It represents the population standard deviation. It's called sigma. Look like an O. Okay. This N right here, the capital N, is represent the total. That is mean how many entries are given to you. There are 110. The last example we work on, the N will be 10 because there's 10 people. Okay. This notation right here, look, this right here is a summation. We've seen this one before. The summation means the total. Okay. This one represents the total. Okay. Question on the notation. Have it somewhere. You should know this. I think that's the hardest part, to remember the symbol and what that means. So population, this symbol right here, that's the O. And when we meet next time, we're gonna play a short game. We can do Kahoot, and I want you to identify the symbol. Okay. So the sigma represents population standard deviation. Again, we talk about deviation means where you are from the mean. Population is the group that we're going to compare for that group. Standard is more like the average. So you can think of this population standard deviation is compare where you are with this population, where you are from the norm, from the average. What it's saying, population standard deviation is where are you compare with the average from this group. So that's pretty much what it's saying. It's not complicated, but again, just where you are. It's pretty much used to compare where you are with this average for this group. Okay, so the function, the equation that you're going to use is the sigma equal to the square root of all of this. It's look really complicated, but don't worry, we're going to break it down. We'll take our time on this. All right. So what you do is there's a bunch of steps. We're going to break it down. We're going to look at the table. I will give you a table, and then we're going to follow step by step. So if you still haven't got the piece of paper yet, now is a good time for you to get that. Any question for me on the notation before we move on to do some example? Okay, this, we're going to look at the wording. So the symbol, sometimes instead of look at the wording, they say find the mean. We know how to find the mean. But in statistic, instead of say find the mean, they will give you this notation. It's a little complicated, but it's saying the same thing. This is the total of all of your entry and divide by how many items is there. To find the deviation, we just talked about this earlier, is take the actual entry, take away the mean. So this is the mean right here. We're going to square the deviation. Deviation is this one, so we're going to square it. X minus the mu square. So whatever the values, remember how we find the deviation? We take that values and we just square it. Put a second power to it. The next step is add the sum of the square, which means we're going to add all of those. So the summation, this is where we're going to use the summation notation. That means that we have 10 items. We're going to add all of the deviation together. And then we take that values and divide by the population, okay? So I will take the average and divide by n. So this is a symbol. If we say something, this is symbol, what it represents. So I want you to be able, if you look and at some textbook, some worksheet, if they gave you this, you can always go back to this table and say, okay, this symbol means I have to find the deviation. This symbol means I have to find the sum of the square. This symbol means I find the population variance. Okay? And then the last one is take the square root of the whole thing. That's what I say, find the square root. So square root the summation of all of deviation square over the total entry. Okay. Whoops. So for now, probably I'm not making any sense to you right now. That's fine. That's okay. This is new. It's just a new language. It's just different letters, different symbol. But have it down so that you can always go back and go back as a reference. By the end of the lesson, hopefully it makes more sense when we do more practice. So this is the 2. That's 7. This is a 2, okay? We good? Should I move on to the next slide? You still copy or you still take picture? Let me know. Okay, all right, I'll wait. All right, then let's do the next one. So this is where we're gonna do the example, okay? We're gonna find the population standard deviation. So this is added to it. The last one we talk about is the deviation. We take the mean, we subtract the data from the mean to give the deviation. For this one, we're gonna find the population standard deviation. So this is where we're gonna compare where is this person compared with the average for that group, for the entire group, which is just 10 people. So we already have some information earlier. We have the mean, which is 41.5. Just to remind you, we have that. So now we're gonna find the population, the standard population. We're gonna follow the steps. So to make it easy for you, this is what I create. This, just to remind you, this is the data. We talked about this earlier. We have someone with 48, 38. That's the salary when they first hire, okay? We have the mean, which is 41.5. We got that from the last example. Now we're gonna look at, I'm gonna provide you this table, okay? Because we're gonna follow the steps, the 6 steps that I provided to you earlier. We're gonna find the standard deviation. I'm gonna find this, okay? So remember, these are the salary. So what we need to do is, in this column, I will ask you to, if you can, please copy down this table so you can take notes with me. So I'm gonna wait and have you take a minute to copy this down. Or if you are using the paired act, that is fine, but make sure it's kind of a little bit hard for you to copy. So the second column is the deviation, which is x minus the mean. And then the last column is that we're gonna square whatever that we found in here. So we're gonna square the deviation. So I'm writing down the steps for you. So go ahead, take a minute, copy down this table, or you want to use paired act, that is fine. Go ahead and use it. But look at the one, that step that I remind you on the, is purple. It's kind of hard to see, so let me change a different color. Okay, whoops. Okay, x minus the mean square. Okay. So these are the things that we, just to remind you, we know the mean is 41.5. Okay, 41.5. So to find the deviation for the first one, I'm taking 41 minus 41.5, which gives you negative 0.5. So now we're going to finish this whole table. Remember last time we just do a couple of those. This time we're going to do all of, for the 10 people. So 38. I'm just going to write this down. I'm not going to talk through this. I think you, unless you want me to. But I'm just go ahead and find the deviation by take the values, take away the mean. Okay. So you can copy this down. So basically, I'm just finding the deviation. How do I find the deviation? I'm take the score, the salary, minus the average. Okay, I'm going to try to change a different color so it's easy for you to see. Whoops, I minus this wrong. For 45 is, if you cannot read my handwriting, let me know. Okay. The next one is 41. So 41, again, look at this one. I already have 41 up here, which I know is negative 0.5. So just save me some time if it's the same values. I don't have to subtract again. It's already there. So 44 I don't have yet. So I will have to do it. 44 minus 41.5. Again, I'm running to 41 again. So I know 41 is already there, so I don't have to subtract. 37, I haven't done it yet, so I have to do 37. That would get me negative 4.5. And then 42. So this is how I find the deviation. Yes, I'm going to zoom in for this deviation. Question on how I find the deviation. Okay. All right, so just to remind you that the mean is 41.5, that is the same thing that I subtract. Some of them, if I have the same values, like the 41 happened 3 different times, so I don't have to subtract again because I know the difference is negative 0.5. I'm doing the same thing for everything else. Question before I move on to the next column. Okay. Whoops. What I do? Okay, I don't need this line. Okay, so the next column is that we're gonna square the deviation. What does that mean is look at the values. Look at the values that are given to you. These values. The one that, look at the one that after you subtract, you have these. That is the one that you want to square. So the first one is negative 0.5. So we're going to square that one. So negative 0.5 square, that would give you 0.25. I'm going to do for all of these. So like I said, standard deviation, whoops, standard deviation is not difficult, but it takes forever. We have to do it by hand. So you may, probably I'll give you one question, and you're going to work on it. It takes some time. We're going to move on to the next one. The next deviation, which is negative 3.5, square it. The next one. If we square it, give you this values. So what we have a couple minutes left. We're about 3 minutes. So what we're gonna do happen today is we're just gonna finish up this column, and when we come back on Wednesday, we're gonna finish up this problem. So for now, I'm just gonna finish the rest of them, which I'm taking the deviation and square it. So this gives you time to copy it down. So the next one is also 3.5. Square it, that gives you 12.25. And then the next one, 5.5, square it, give you 30.25. This one, the negative 0.5, which we already did up here. So for this one, I can just copy it down, 0.25, okay? I don't want it here, I'm gonna label 0.25. I line it up so later on it's easy for me to add. So I would move on to the next one. All right, so 2.5. So you get the idea. What you do is you're going to square them. So you want to write out to the second power, you may. But for me, I'm just going to write out all the values for you for now. That's because that's all the time that we have. So I'm going to ask you to copy this down. So the next one is 20.25. I hate this. And then we have, did I skip something? No, I skipped it, sorry. Okay, the next one is 6.25, 0.25 again, and then 20.25, and the last one is 0.25. So these are the square. I'm going to zoom in for you to take a picture. Actually, let's take a picture for the whole table. Okay. All right. I'll leave it up. If you need to stay and take a picture or copy it down, do so. Have a good day. We'll finish up with this problem Wednesday. Okay. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good day. I'll see you Wednesday. We'll finish up with this one.